Police Chief Christine Nixon has flagged new research into why Victoria's road safety campaigns aren't working, following a double fatality in the CBD. The victims were on a motorbike which struck a pole in Queen Street and then crashed into a roundabout. The 35-year-old male rider died at the scene. The pillion passenger, a woman in her 20s, passed away later in hospital. The state's road toll is now 12, double that at the same time last year. Victoria's to receive more than $34 million of extra federal funding to help reduce elective surgery waiting lists. Health ministers and treasurers met in Brisbane today to carve up an additional $150 million in funds provided by Canberra. Here's Daniel Street.
Back on deck and waving in a new year, Prime Minister Rudd touched down in Canberra this morning after his fortnight off. As he went to work tackling a full in-tray,
well, he said he would fix things. That's right.
Back in his home city of Brisbane, Treasurer Wayne Swan joined Health Minister Nicola Oxon and her state counterparts on a tour of a Brisbane hospital, spruiking the federal government's plan to cut elective surgery waiting lists by 25,000 this year. To help the states achieve that, the government today put $150 million up for grabs. 2 hours later, Wayne Swan emerged, trumpeting a new era of cooperation.
And this is how we're going to do business from now on. In effect, we put an end to the blame game.
New South Wales gets the largest slice, almost a third of the funding, with $43 million, followed by Victoria receiving $34 million and Queensland $27 million.
There needs to be a lot more than just $150 million to solve our public hospital problems.
Today's funding is part of a $2.5 billion incentive to the states to improve hospitals by mid-2009. And a no failure could see the Rudd government move to take over all public hospitals. Daniel Street, National 9 News.
Australians using broadband can expect faster connections and cheaper prices, with telecommunications company Pipeworks unveiling plans for a $200 million undersea cable to be laid between Sydney and the Pacific island of Guam. Stretching almost 7,000 kilometres, it'll link Australia to the United States and Asia and be independent of Telstra and Optus.
What this will mean is there's going to be increased competition. This is going to mean cheaper prices and faster speeds ultimately.
Finance and the share market began the week in the red amid concerns over the United States economy and inflation fears. The big miners and major banks bore the brunt, with Westpac hit hard. However, gold stocks were stronger and retailers picked up support. The All Ordinaries Index slipped 13 points. Our dollar's buying almost 89.5 US cents and is mixed elsewhere. The family of Indonesia's ailing former dictator Suharto is making preparations for his funeral as his health continues to deteriorate. Doctors say he's now in a very critical condition and have given the 86-year-old only a 50-50 chance of surviving. In the United Arab Emirates, US President George Bush has stepped up his case for military action against nearby Iran, suggesting the rogue state is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism.
It sends hundreds of millions of dollars to extremists around the world, while its own people face repression and economic hardship at home.
Relations between the countries have been further strained after Iranian boats threatened US sailors in international waters. Hundreds of angry travellers at Argentina's main airport have rioted through the terminal after a second day of flight delays and cancellations involving one of the country's main airlines. Union chiefs have accused the carrier of overbooking flights. And Dame Edna Everage can blame her creator for having to cancel an upcoming US tour. Barry Humphries has been ordered to rest for 6 months after suffering complications for appendix surgery. Cate Blanchett has won a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role as Bob Dylan in the film I'm Not There, but she's been unable to accept her honour in person. She joined other stars who boycotted the ceremony in support of the industry's striking scriptwriters. More from Robert Penfold.
The stage was ready, but not a star in sight to brighten it up. Instead, a couple of people with a list to read. I'm told there was no pun intended in the first announcement of the night for Best Supporting Actress.
Cate Blanchett, I'm not there.
She certainly wasn't. She was in Australia, which is a pity, seeing she won for her role as a young Bob Dylan. At the front row table where George Clooney or Angelina Jolie would usually be, the seats taken instead by disappointed members of the organising committee, including 91-year-old Hollywood reporter Anita Weber. Disappointed? You bet.
Well, I think it stinks.
So instead of the red carpet, the glamour and the parties, thanks to the strikers, it's come to this. Boring and a massive black eye for Hollywood. Best Comedy or Musical was won by Sweeney Todd. Next, Best Movie Drama for 2007.
Atonement. Thank you all for coming.
The best that could be said for this dull night is, it's going to be a lot better next year. In Hollywood, Robert Penfold, National 9 News.
Now with sport, here's Tony Jones.
Yes, thanks Pete, good to see you again. Coming up after the break, all the tennis action, all eyes were on that place today, that's for sure. Also tell you why a tennis mum spat the dummy, while in the cricket, Hogg sweats it out ahead of his hearing. While Australians Chris Guccione and Leighton Hewitt won't begin their Australian Open campaigns until tomorrow, Alicia Molik will be taking centre stage tonight. Let's take a look at the results so far from day one. And just the one real upset, a short time ago, young Scot Andy Murray was beaten in 4 sets. Better news for Andy Roddick and Serena Williams. They're both through to the second round. But the women's number 3 seed, Jelena Jankovic, survived an enormous fright, as Chris Jones tells us.
Jelena Jankovic and Tamira Pazcek provided an extraordinary start to the on-court action. Having won the first set, then conceding the second, Pazcek edged closer to an upset, but the number 3 seed kept her nerve. In the gripping third set, Jankovic faced certain defeat, only to watch her Austrian opponent blow it big time. The set lasted almost 2 hours before Jankovic rounded off her amazing revival.
The lower part hurts a bit, but mentally and I'm really happy, so that's the most important thing.
Nervous times too for new mum Lindsay Davenport. With the match locked at 1 set all, the calls weren't going her way.
Are you crazy?
But she fought back from a breakdown in the final set to win the match.
The fairy tale comeback continues for Lindsay Davenport.
Earlier women's defending champion Serena Williams had an easier start to her campaign against a sometimes defiant Jarmila Gajdusova. In reality, there was no stopping Serena, who went on to beat the Australian 6-3, 6-3.
I think everyone could probably tell it was a little scratchy, but, you know, it's the first round and just moving forward.
On the men's side, big serving Andy Rock flew through his match.
Good shot. I'm getting smoked out here.
The American easily progressing in straight sets. Chris Jones, National 9 News.
All right, now to the cricket, and Australia's Brad Hogg faces a hearing in Perth later tonight, our time, which effectively could rub him out for up to 4 test matches if he's found guilty of an abuse charge. Now, while that's obviously a big concern for the Australian team, their main focus is on Wednesday's return bout with India. Clinton Fletcher reports.
At today's training, Hogg wasn't getting in a sweat over anything, and he should know his fate in the next 4 hours. Whatever the outcome, the Aussies are anxious to get on with some hard test cricket.
We'll continue to strive to do that. We'll continue to strive to be, the best at everything we do.
Gilchrist was also keen to talk up the value of having 4 quick bowlers in Perth. He believes Sean Tate deserves a chance and should be used in short, explosive bursts.
If he did play, he'd be a really useful weapon.
For the first time in the series, India has newly appointed coach Gary Kirsten on hand. The former South African batsman will officially take over later in the year, but he wants to help now.
Obviously quite sad to see the way things have happened over the last week, and obviously look forward to everyone getting back to cricket.
In a good sign for the locals, Matthew Hayden continues to improve, and what about that record? The Aussies are chasing their 17th straight test win.
Something that we'd all be thrilled to be a part of if the chance is there, if it happens.
Whoever gets going in the test, it'll be hard to match this effort last night.
Oh, that's out of the ground.
In the 2020 final at the Wacker, Victoria beat Western Australia by 32 runs. Aiden Blizzard 6 was a massive help. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
And that's all for tonight. Pete, back to you.
Right, thanks, Tony. And still to come, Lavinia Nixon with the weather and feeling the beat for Australia Day.